Call the Monday, December 17th, 2012, regular city council meeting to order. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Alderman Putoff.
Here.
Mankiewicz.
Here.
Ferrari.
Here.
Waldorf.
Here.
Lukosius.
Here.
Perez.
Here.
Radke.
Here.
Mazak.
Here.
Mayor Harrell.
Here. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, then we'll remain standing for a moment of silence for the victims in the Newton, Connecticut tragedy. Okay, at this time I'd like to ask the Friends for the Peru Pool to present the grant received from Walmart. Gina Martin, Deb Noonan, Claudia Makishka, and Kathy Bly. Would you please step forward? Do we have any cards filled out for public comment?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, do we have a motion to receive the regular meeting minutes of December 3rd, 2012 and December 12th, 2012 and place on file?
So moved, Your Honor. Second, Your Honor.
I have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Waldorf to receive the regular meeting minutes of December 3rd, 2012 and December 12th, 2012 and place on file. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we'll move to committee reports. Council and Finance, Alderman Putoff, Alderman Radke.
Yes, Your Honor. The total disbursements for December 19th of year 2012 are $2,371,444.81. I'll make a motion this be received, placed on file, the bills paid in the usual manner.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Radke to receive the disbursements for December 19, 2012, and the bills paid in the usual manner. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Mankiewicz.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mazak.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda, Your Honor, is a motion to renew the dental insurance with Delta Dental for 1 year with no increase in premiums.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Putoff, second by Alderman Radke to renew the dental insurance with Delta Dental for 1 year with no increase in premium. Is there any discussion? We'll have a roll call vote. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Mankiewicz.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mazak.
Aye.
Motion approved.
I'm not aware of any other reports from the Accounts and Finance, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll move Public Works. Alderman Waldorf, Alderman Lukosius.
No electric report at this time, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I have the City of Peru water and wastewater treatment plants report as of October 2012. The water treatment plant, we produced 72.5 million gallons. At our wastewater plants, the East plant, we treated 54.8 million gallons, and at the West plant, we treated 30.9 million gallons. I will make a motion to receive this report and place it on file.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Lukosius to receive the water and wastewater treatment plant report for September 2012 and place on file. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Next, Your Honor, I have a motion to authorize Chamlin and Associates to proceed with the engineering services for Area 1 storm sewer separation.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Waldorf, second by Alderman Lukosius to authorize Chamlin Associates to proceed with engineering for Area 1 storm sewers separation. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll have a roll call vote. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Mankiewicz.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Lukosius.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mazak.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Your Honor, at the last meeting, we had a discussion about a diversion structure to move some of the flow from our east wastewater treatment plant to the west wastewater treatment plant. I'm going to ask that we table that. As a committee, we discussed taking it back to committee to have further discussion. In the meantime, I'd like to get a capacity and flow report, please, and some sort of diagram that'll show what we're talking about and explain it a little further. And we will, I believe, have that meeting on either the 17th or the 7th of January or the 14th. Thank you. The 7th of January or the 14th of January. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Public Health and Safety, Alderman Ferrari, Alderman Perez.
Yes, Your Honor, we have the approved Police Department monthly report for November 2012, submitted from Chief Burnaby. I'll make a motion to accept this report and place it on file.
Second it, Your Honor.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Ferrari, second by Alderman Perez to receive the approved Fire Department report for period ending December 8th, 2012 and place on file. Is there any discussion?
Approved
No.
Police Department report.
Approved Police Department. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Your Honor, I have the approved Fire Department report for pay period ending December 8th, 2012. The approved Fire Department responded to a total of 6 fire calls for this pay period, which also included 1 hazmat special operations call, 1 mutual aid call to Mendota, and 1 of 2 monthly trainings, making this pay period total number 8. Total payroll for this pay period is $1,802.54. Total invoices sent out was $1,436.13. I'd like to make a motion we accept this report and place it on file.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Perez, second by Alderman Ferrari to receive the approved Fire Department report for period ending December 8th, 2012 and place on file. Is there any discussion? Not all in favor signify by aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
Your Honor, I also have the Peru Volunteer Ambulance Activity Report for November 2012. The Peru Ambulance Service responded to 205 patient calls during the month of November, which included 1 mutual aid call to LaSalle. Total miles logged was 4,870. I'd like to make a motion we accept this report and place it on file.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Perez, second by Alderman Ferrari to receive the approved volunteer ambulance activity summary for November 2012 and place on file. Is there any discussion? Not all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Your Honor, I also have the City of Peru Safety Committee meeting dated November 6, 2012. I have the minutes for that meeting. In these minutes are the most recent list of departments with their number of days since the last recordable injuries. I'd like to make a motion we accept these minutes and place them on file.
Second, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Perez, second by Alderman Ferrari, to receive the Safety Committee minutes for November 6, 2012, and place on file. Is there any discussion? Not all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Chief King, do you have anything? I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Public property, Alderman Nankiewicz, Alderman Mazak.
Yes, Your Honor, I have the Prue Recreation Fund report for the period ending November 30th of 2012, with total funds available, $32,295.81, submitted by Dave Bartley, City Clerk. Make a motion to receive the report and place it on file.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Nankiewicz, second by Alderman Mazak, to receive the Prue Recreation Fund cash account summary for November 2012. Is there any discussion? Not all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
And I have the, the Peru Public Library cash account summary for the period ending November 30th, 2012. The total amount in all three accounts is $397,092.95. I'd like to make a motion that this report be received and placed on file.
Second, Your Honor.
Been a motion by Alderman Mazak, second by Alderman Nankiewicz, to receive the Peru Public Library cash account summary for November 2012 and place on file. Is there any discussion? Not all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Also, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to award a bid for the mausoleum roof repair to Northern Illinois Seamless Roofing in the amount of $29,745.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Nankiewicz, second by Alderman Mazak, to award the bid for the mausoleum roof repair to Northern Illinois Seamless Roofing in the amount of $29,745. Is there any discussion? Not, we'll have a roll call vote. Clerk, call the roll.
Alderman Putoff.
Aye.
Nankiewicz.
Aye.
Ferrari.
Aye.
Waldorf.
Aye.
Makosas.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
Radke.
Aye.
Mazak.
Aye.
Motion approved.
I just have one thing. I was wondering with the accident that happened up at the airport, if there's any possibility that we could put a guardrail in front of that gas thing. Yeah.
Weren't there steel posts up there at the time? There were none?
I mean, I can see how. Okay, thank you.
No further reports for public property.
City Attorney, ordinances, resolutions,
Nothing, Your Honor.
unfinished business.
Your Honor, if we could discuss at this time moving forward with implementing a rental property registration process. The first section of a mock ordinance that we've received over the last couple of weeks has some necessities of such an ordinance that I'd like to see us move forward with. For example, part of the ordinance, actually the first section of it, I'll just read a couple of them, where it's necessary to protect the public health and safety by ensuring rental units comply with the minimum housing standards of city ordinances, and this necessity exists to protect the character and stability of residential areas, and the necessity exists to correct and prevent housing conditions that adversely affect or are likely to adversely affect the life, safety, general welfare, and health, including the physical, mental, and social well-being of persons occupying dwellings, and the necessity exists to prevent the overcrowding of dwellings by requiring compliance with minimum space standards per occupant for each dwelling unit. There are a couple other ones there, but if we could possibly look into implementing a registration ordinance, I think it would be easy to do that. The question would be, do we have the staff needed to enforce that ordinance? The responsibility of the inspections would fall directly on the building inspector, but I think if we were to start out by making all rental property owner, I think it would be difficult if we started out by making all registered rental properties owners. If we make them register, I think that'd be difficult. But I think that if we started out with the multi-unit, I think that would be a little bit easier to start out and control, getting all those units and inspect them and get them to register. Once we do that, I think moving on with the single unit would be a little easier and less chaotic for the building inspector to move forward with. But I think the multi-units are the most important to start out with. We all have copies of the fees, and of course, you know, we could discuss that and what we think they should be. Last week, I had received a phone call from a tenant, and they asked me if I could possibly find out the owner of their rental property, because all they had was the landlord's name. So I called the clerk's office to see if I can get that name, and they had the landlord as the owner, which, with looking into it a little bit further, the owner was actually from Tennessee. So if I think it's important that we have all of that information. They have a leaky roof and some other safety concerns that they have within the house, within their property. And I think that a lot of owners and tenants don't understand the state laws, especially when it comes to different ordinances and state laws like carbon monoxide and smoke detectors. This particular house, you know, I asked them, I said, how many smoke detectors does your landlord have in the house? And they said only one, and it's a two-story. And I asked if they had any carbon monoxide detectors, and they don't. So I think it's very important that we get these registered, and when we do that, we could get these ordinances and state laws to those landlords and property owners to get them to their tenants. And I think it's a big concern, and I think that we should move forward with that. I think sooner the better.
Yeah, we have a little problem with staffing. We wouldn't be able to chase it very well. It takes some time, quite a bit of time, with the staffing that we have.
What about registering just the multi-units? Do we have any idea at all, Clerk Bartley, how many multi-units we have within the city of Peru?
I mean, the big question on multi-unit is like Country Manor or Oak Terrace Apartments. Country Manor in particular, even if there's a fee-based system to get those, is it a fee for each individual unit there? I mean, in that particular complex in itself could be a real challenge just to do the inspections. You might find that something like that big is one of the ones that's more compliant than a smaller multi-unit, but just those facilities up there would be pretty challenging, I think.
Has it been difficult to find the owners of properties? And this can be for Frank Taylor or Chief Burnaby. Is it that difficult to find property owners?
The county and find out who the taxes are sent to find out who the owners are. Then they'd be in town or out of town or out of state. They would trying to find out who the owner is if it's on the county. But the clerk's office has a lot of records on personal contact. They talk to Mary a lot about finding what her contact number is. So she does have that in a lot of the rental units. And in every unit she has that contact.
Okay. I think one thing that we probably overlook is the tenants have a bit of a responsibility too in some of these properties. If you do go around and you see tenants with 4 or 5 cars parked in their front yards or things of that nature, that certainly can't apply to an absentee landlord all the time. Maybe ultimately they're responsible for those violations, but the tenant shouldn't have protection either. Is there something included in the ordinance that those tenants have some responsibility also?
I think in the LaSalle ordinance that I gave, it does address the tenant and owners. The owner is responsible for the tenant's actions.
Yeah, well. Well, I mean, quite obviously, if it's a noise issue or a garbage issue, it'd probably be much more effective to apply the ordinance to the current tenants than it would be to find a property owner in the time period it would take to do that. Just my opinion.
Usually when a property gets bad enough,
Has anybody had a chance to read the sample Rockford one? You know, that has a few points in it that are pretty good to think about.
Aren't these concerns already on the books? Aren't they covered?
Yes, but, you know, we don't have. Do we collect that, but there's collection problems for that, and enforcement problems to get people to register, as I remember when they first moved.
Can we get a registration through the city clerk's office when a tenant comes to turn on electricity at a residence? He says it's at 602 9th Street. Who's the property owner? Now it's registered.
But we have to catch up and register everybody, from the past.
They're all on file at the city clerk's office.
We do have a number of property owners that we have a record of. And we do, you know, as we update the files, obviously, as new tenants come in, all those questions are asked on a regular basis. So you know, it's not complete by any means, but we haven't had any real challenges finding the information when we need to.
Have we checked them? Or is that just an assumption?
Well,
Frank, do they have one inspector in LaSalle that does all theirs? How's it working out for them? Have you talked to them about that?
Frank?
Frank, we require people to register vacant property currently. Do we charge a fee to register your vacant property?
Well, if we could, I mean, sending them a letter, getting the names from the clerk's office and getting them a letter saying you have 60 days to register, it's going to be an additional $100 fine. You can either register for $20 or $50, whatever we decide on. If they don't do it within that time frame, then it jumps up, and then we continue to, pursue that and fine them. If we could possibly send that to a committee, Your Honor, I think maybe start there would be good.
Frank, could you call LaSalle? Because this ordinance has been in effect since the 11th of January 2010. See where they're at, because that's soon to be 3 years. So see where they're at.
The last thing I think, from my perspective, is I don't want to create a full-time job for something we may or may not need. And I think that's one thing maybe LaSalle can give you a little rundown is, let's just not create a job for something that's not going to get done.
Actually, the way I look at these committees, it's kind of a toss-up between public health and safety and public property, so I'd ask both of you to address it, and then the committees get together. You know, if you can come with a consensus between your committees and then talk to the two committees in your meetings. So I'd ask that Alderman Nankiewicz and Mazak, you look at it, and then Alderman Ferrari and Perez, you look at it also, to go a little bit further. And then I see in the Rockford, they even had public hearings on it. So anyway, I don't see that in with what we have here.
I think a public hearing would be appropriate. I mean, you're talking about if you have 500 units, I mean, if you spend an hour inspecting each unit every year, that's 500 hours a year, so that's 25% of someone's time.
Well, in the Rockford ordinance, they may seek a fine up to $75 if it turns into a chronic nuisance.
Frank, do we have a real big problem in finding who owns them? Because I know, like, over in Mike and I's ward, I mean, we know of two of them for sure, but people have no money that own it, and yet the place is full. I don't understand, you know, it must state aid people living there, I don't know. But it's always full.
We'll work with the committee, Your Honor, and move forward on that. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other unfinished business? New business, do we have any new business? Petitions, communications?
No, Your Honor.
Public comment, have any public comment? Bob, can you come up to the podium, please?
State when the ordinance went in. Brian came in, you got houses that are 150 years old, you got houses that are 5 years old. You can't take a 150-year-old house and bring it up to 5-year-old standards. Physically impossible for anybody to afford it. So you want to think about what you're doing. Brian, I have a rental property in LaSalle, had it for about 3 years. Never been inside of it. I pay my $30 every year. Why? I keep up a good place. There's a dump that's owned by an individual right next door. Insulation hanging out, yard's not kept up. You're going to inspect that. That's what should be done. I don't know what you guys can do. I don't know what the real answer is. I could go into a lengthy spiel about it, but you guys on the committee want to talk to me, I'll give you an eye-opener. I went through, I had a 6-unit, passed. I wouldn't buy it. A candle with some paper around it was probably solving that problem. It was a dump, but it passed. So, yeah. That's not the quote you really want. No, I'm just saying it needed to be it really needed to be torn down. LaSalle's got a lot of them, and they've had them for years. And if you look at LaSalle, they've been working on those properties for years. They're just starting to get a handle on it, and that's probably been 5 or 6 years. So just keep in mind when you make this ordinance up that you have a lot of various units. And you're going to have that bad landlord no matter what.
Well, that's one reason why Rockford did have some public hearings on it, because I'm sure they have a lot of situations the same. So,
well, what are you going to do if you find a bad place? You're going to kick the people out?
That's why it does need discussion. You're absolutely right.
I mean, those people, I had one where those people didn't have any place to go. Was selling the property, but they didn't have any place to go. They didn't have any money for any place. So you have to think about what you're getting yourself into. I can go on and on, but, if you guys wanna talk to me, I'll give you an eye-opener on it.
Thank you.
The committees, you can contact Mr. Zapaniak if you want, you know, when you're gonna have your next committee meeting, so he could attend. Gina, you'll have to come up here if you have a public comment, please.
Good afternoon. Mr. Sapaniak, I do have to agree with you, but I also want you to know that I was on the original committee with Labor of Love. I worked on it for 12 years, went off of it, and went back on it. I can tell you the horror stories of what we have seen, and one that was really outstanding was a lady who was living in this house, and there is a valley in the roof, and you could look in her living room and see the light. Now, we have a very cold climate here, and this lady was living in these conditions. Now, I don't know how many of you would like to live in those kind of conditions. A lot of this stuff can be stopped. You also have Bluff Street has some pretty bad-looking homes. I know some of them are also the bank has taken over. My daughter was one of them because they went to the bank and asked for help, and the bank refused. So they said, have it, and they left. We need a good working program, and you men and women are intelligent enough that you can get this kind of program going. Now, I'm not saying go in and wipe everybody out. That's not my point. But I think we can work with it. I also think and believe that if we let these homes go to hell, what does that say of our community? What about the businesses that are going to come into our community or look at our community to resettle or to start a business, and they see all these houses that are falling apart? What does that say about us? Enough. Good luck.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? You know, as everyone knows, we were going to add a line item for purchasing properties, tearing them down, but keeping in mind that the one on Bluff Street that we tore down this year, that alone, 800 square foot house, maybe, was $40,000. So you have to be careful. You can't, it's not just we don't have an open checkbook. Do what you can while you can, but we do want to put something in the budget so we know what we have to work with. Any other public comment? Nothing? Do we have motion for adjournment?
So moved, Your Honor.
Have a motion by Alderman Ferrari, second by Alderman Ankiewicz for adjournment. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Jim Bennett, or not Bennett, sorry about that, Putoff, Jim Putoff.